The massive freighter Stellar Horizon lumbered through the inky void of space, its hull scarred from countless micrometeor impacts. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Marcus Wells wiped sweat from his brow as he calibrated the temperamental fusion drive. The ship groaned and shuddered around him, a constant reminder of the aging vessel's fragility. "Come on, old girl," Marcus muttered, patting the console affectionately. "Just hold together for one more haul." A sudden alarm blared through the chamber, causing Marcus to jump. He scanned the readouts, his heart racing. "Unauthorized access in Cargo Bay 3, the computer announced in its monotone voice. Marcus cursed under his breath. Pirates? Out here in the fringes of settled space, it wasn't uncommon for desperate souls to try their luck against seemingly easy targets. He grabbed a heavy wrench and made his way towards the cargo bay, comm unit in hand. "Captain, we've got a situation," he reported, voice low. "Possible intruder in Cargo Bay 3. I'm checking it out." "Negative, Chief." Captain Amelia Ree's stern voice crackled through the comm. "Security is on the way. Return to your station." Marcus hesitated, then shook his head. "With all due respect, Captain, I'm already here. I'll just take a quick look." Ignoring the captain's protests, Marcus approached the cargo bay doors. He took a deep breath, tightened his grip on the wrench, and hit the access panel. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing towering stacks of crates and containers. "Hello," Marcus called out, stepping cautiously into the dimly lit space. "Anyone in here?" A sudden clatter from behind a nearby crate made him spin around, wrench raised defensively. "Come out slowly," he ordered, trying to keep his voice steady. "I'm armed and security's on the way." To Marcus' surprise, a slender figure emerged from the shadows. It was clearly not human. Its skin was a pale, iridescent blue, and its eyes were large, solid orbs of deep purple. The alien raised its hands in a gesture of surrender. "Please," it said, its voice melodious and strangely soothing. "I mean no harm. I seek asylum." Marcus lowered the wrench slightly, his curiosity overriding his caution. "Asylum? From what?" The alien's eyes darted nervously towards the door. "From those who would enslave my people. I am Zara, last of the free Voidwalkers, and I need your help." Before Marcus could respond, heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor. Security was approaching. He made a split-second decision, one that would change the course of his life forever. "Quick," he whispered, gesturing towards a stack of empty crates. "Hide in there. I'll come back when it's safe." Zara hesitated for a moment, then nodded gratefully. As she slipped into the crate, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was getting involved in something far bigger than he could imagine. The security team burst into the cargo bay, weapons drawn. Marcus put on his best confused expression. "False alarm, guys," he said, shrugging. "Must have been a faulty sensor or something. I've been all over this bay, and there's nothing here." The lead security officer frowned, clearly skeptical. "We'll need to do a full sweep, Chief. Captain's orders." Marcus nodded, his heart pounding. "Of course. I'll get back to the engine room then. Let me know if you need anything." As he walked away, Marcus' mind raced. What had he gotten himself into? Who was this Zara, and what kind of trouble was she running from? One thing was certain, his life aboard the Stellar Horizon was about to get a lot more complicated. Little did Marcus know, as he made his way back to the familiar confines of the engine room, that his impulsive act of kindness would soon thrust him into the center of an intergalactic conflict. The fate of not just Zara, but entire civilizations, would soon rest in his calloused, engine grease-stained hands. For 3 days, Marcus managed to keep Zara hidden in a rarely used storage compartment near the engine room. He brought her food and water when he could, all while trying to maintain his usual duties and not arouse suspicion. But as they neared the edge of settled space, Marcus knew they were running out of time. "We need to figure out our next move," he whispered to Zara during one of his clandestine visits. "We'll be docking at Outpost Epsilon in less than 48 hours. I can't keep you hidden forever. Zora's luminous eyes seemed to shimmer with worry. I understand, Marcus. You've already risked so much for me. But I fear what awaits us at the outpost. The Dominion has spies everywhere. Marcus frowned. The Dominion? Is that who you're running from? Before Zora could answer, a violent tremor shook the ship. Alarms blared throughout the vessel, and the emergency lights flashed an angry red. What the hell? Marcus muttered, rushing to the nearest console. His eyes widened as he scanned the readouts. That's impossible. What is it? Zora asked, her melodious voice tinged with fear. The fusion drive. It's destabilizing. But that shouldn't be possible with the failsafes I've put in place. Marcus' fingers flew over the controls, trying to contain the growing catastrophe. If I can't get this under control, the whole ship could go up like a miniature sun. Another tremor, stronger this time, nearly knocked them off their feet. Marcus grabbed the comm unit. Bridge, this is Chief Engineer Wells. We've got a severe situation down here. The fusion drive is. His words were cut off by a burst of static. The ship's systems were failing faster than he'd anticipated. Marcus turned to Zora, his face grim. I need to get down there and try to stabilize it manually. You should find somewhere safe to. Zora placed a hand on his arm, her touch sending an unexpected tingle through his body. Let me help, she said firmly. My people have an innate understanding of energy fields. Perhaps together we can prevent disaster. Marcus hesitated for a moment, then nodded. There was no time for debate. All right, but stay close. And if I tell you to run, you run. Got it? They made their way to the heart of the engine room, where the fusion drive pulsed and writhed like a dying star. The heat was intense, and Marcus could feel the radiation prickling his skin despite the shielding. It's like nothing I've ever seen, he shouted over the roar of the malfunctioning drive. The containment field is collapsing, but I can't figure out why. Zora's eyes narrowed as she studied the chaotic energy patterns. There, she pointed to a section of the drive that seemed to shimmer oddly. The field isn't collapsing. It's being deliberately destabilized. Marcus' blood ran cold. Sabotage. But who wooled? His question was answered by the sound of slow, mocking applause. They turned to see a tall, imposing figure emerge from the shadows. His skin was the same iridescent blue as Zora's, but his eyes were cold and hard. Well done, little sister, the newcomer sneered. You led us on quite a chase, but did you really think you could escape the Dominion forever? Zora stepped in front of Marcus protectively. Vex, I should have known you'd be the one they sent. Marcus looked between the two aliens, confusion and anger warring within him. Someone want to tell me what the hell is going on? And how do we stop this ship from becoming a very large, very deadly firework? Vex laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Marcus' spine. Oh, you don't, human. This vessel's destruction will serve as a warning to all who would defy the Dominion, and my dear sister's misguided rebellion ends here. As Vex raised a strange, glowing device, Marcus made a split-second decision. He lunged forward, tackling the alien to the ground. The device skittered across the floor, and Zora scooped it up. Marcus, she called out, this is a quantum disruptor. It's what's destabilizing the drive. If we can reverse its polarity. On it. Marcus grunted, struggling to keep Vex pinned. Just hurry. As Zora worked frantically to reconfigure the device, Marcus found himself locked in a desperate fight for survival. Vex was incredibly strong, and it took every ounce of Marcus' strength to keep him at bay. You're a fool, human, Vex snarled, his eyes blazing with hatred. You have no idea of the forces you're meddling with. Marcus managed a grim smile. Maybe not, but I know a thing or two about fixing what's broken. With a final burst of effort, Zora activated the reversed quantum disruptor. A pulse of energy washed over the fusion drive, and gradually, the chaotic fluctuations began to subside. The ship's tremors eased, and the alarms fell silent. As security finally arrived to take Vex into custody, Marcus slumped against a console, exhausted but relieved. He looked at Zara, 1,000 questions on the tip of his tongue. "I suppose," he said with a weary chuckle, "you've got some explaining to do." Zara nodded, her expression a mix of gratitude and determination. "Indeed, I do, Marcus. And I fear this is only the beginning of a much larger story, one in which you may play a crucial role." As they made their way to the bridge to face the inevitable barrage of questions from the captain and crew, Marcus couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement beneath his exhaustion. He'd signed up for a simple freight run, but fate had other plans. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was ready to face them, with Zara by his side and the vast expanse of the universe stretching out before them. Captain Amelia Reeves paced the length of the conference room, her steely gaze alternating between Marcus, Zara, and the holographic display of the ship's damage report. The tension in the air was palpable. "Let me get this straight," Amelia said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "We've been harboring a fugitive alien. Our ship was nearly destroyed by said alien's pursuer, and now we're potentially in the crosshairs of an interstellar empire we didn't even know existed." She fixed Marcus with a withering look. "Have I missed anything, Chief?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "When you put it like that, Captain, it sounds pretty bad. Pretty bad." Amelia's laugh was short and humorless. "That's the understatement of the century." She turned to Zara. "I think it's time you told us exactly what we're dealing with here." Zara nodded sullenly. "You're right, Captain. You all deserve to know the truth." She took a deep breath, her iridescent skin shimmering slightly. "My people, the Voidwalkers, have long been known as peaceful explorers and diplomats. But beneath that facade lies a dark secret." The room fell silent as Zara began her tale. She spoke of the Dominion, a shadowy organization within Voidwalker society that had slowly gained power over centuries. They believed that their natural affinity for energy manipulation made them superior to other species. The Dominion's ultimate goal was nothing less than galactic domination. "But surely your government wouldn't allow this?" Amelia interjected. Zara's expression turned grim. "The Dominion is the government now. They've infiltrated every level of our society. Those of us who oppose them are branded as traitors, hunted down, or," she shuddered, "or worse." Marcus leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "What do you mean, worse?" "The Dominion has developed a way to strip a Voidwalker of their energy manipulation abilities," Zara explained, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's a fate worse than death for my people. Without our connection to the cosmic energies, we're left as empty shells." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications sank in. It was Amelia who finally broke it. "And where do we fit into all this? Why come to us?" Zara's eyes met Marcus. "It wasn't intentional. I was fleeing, desperate for anywhere to hide. But now," she turned back to Amelia, "now I believe it might have been fate. Your ship, your crew, you represent everything the Dominion fears. The ingenuity, the resilience of lesser species." Marcus couldn't help but feel a swell of pride at her words, even as the gravity of the situation weighed on him. "There's more," Zara continued. "The Dominion's reach is expanding. They've begun experimenting with ways to amplify their powers, to extend their control over vast distances. If they succeed," she left the thought unfinished, but the implication was clear. Amelia rubbed her temples, looking suddenly tired. "So what you're saying is, we're not just facing a threat to your people, but potentially to the entire galaxy." Zara nodded gravely. "I'm afraid so, but there is hope. I've discovered the location of an ancient Voidwalker artifact, one that could potentially neutralize the Dominion's amplification technology, if we can reach it first." "Now hold on," Amelia interrupted, holding up a hand. "We're a freight ship, not some sort of interstellar special ops team. We're not equipped for this kind of mission." Marcus surprised himself by speaking up. "Maybe that's exactly why we're perfect for it, Captain." All eyes turned to him, and he felt his face flush. "I mean, think about it. The Dominion will be looking for military ships for obvious threats. But us? We're just a rundown freighter making our usual rounds. Zora's eyes lit up. Marcus is right. Your very ordinariness is your greatest asset. And she hesitated, then plunged ahead. And I believe the humans on this ship possess a quality that makes you uniquely suited to this task. Oh, Amelia raised an eyebrow. And what quality is that? Adaptability, Zara said simply. In all my travels, I've never encountered a species so quick to adjust to new situations, so creative in finding solutions to impossible problems. It's remarkable. A flicker of pride crossed Amelia's face, quickly replaced by her usual stern expression. Be that as it may, this is still an enormous risk. I have a responsibility to my crew. And to the rest of the galaxy, Marcus added quietly, Captain, if what Zara's saying is true, can we really just walk away from this? Amelia was silent for a long moment, her internal struggle visible on her face. Finally, she sighed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but all right, we'll help. But, she added, fixing Zara with a steely gaze, you'll follow my orders. This is still my ship, and the safety of my crew comes first. Understood. Zara nodded eagerly. Of course, Captain. Thank you. You won't regret this. As the meeting adjourned and plans began to take shape, Marcus couldn't shake a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to embark on a journey that would take them to the farthest reaches of known space, facing dangers beyond imagination. But as he looked around at his crewmates, ordinary men and women who had just agreed to take on an extraordinary task, he felt a surge of confidence. They might not be heroes in the traditional sense, but they were human. And if there's one thing humans had proven time and time again, it was their ability to rise to any challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed. As Marcus left the conference room, Zara fell into step beside him. Thank you, she said softly, for everything. Marcus gave her a lopsided grin. Don't thank me yet. Something tells me the real adventure is just beginning. The stellar horizon pushed deeper into uncharted space, its engines straining against the vast emptiness. In the engine room, Marcus worked tirelessly, coaxing every ounce of power from the aging systems. Zara was often by his side, her innate understanding of energy fields proving invaluable in keeping the ship running. You know, Marcus said one day, wiping grease from his hands, for someone who's supposedly part of an advanced alien race, you sure seem fascinated by our primitive technology. Zara smiled, her luminous eyes twinkling. Your technology may be less advanced, but the ingenuity behind it is remarkable. My people have relied on our natural abilities for so long, we've lost the drive to innovate in the same way. The conversation was interrupted by the ship-wide comm system. All senior staff to the bridge. Captain Amelia's voice crackled. We're approaching the coordinates. As Marcus and Zara hurried to the bridge, an air of tension settled over the ship. They were about to enter a region of space no human had ever seen before. The bridge was a flurry of activity when they arrived. Amelia stood at the center, her face grim as she studied the main view screen. Report, she barked. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, the ship's science officer, spoke up. Captain, we're detecting some kind of anomaly at the coordinates Zara provided. It doesn't match any known celestial phenomenon in our database. The view screen showed a swirling vortex of energy, beautiful and terrifying in its intensity. Tendrils of light danced and pulsed, as if alive. Zara stepped forward, her voice filled with awe. The heart of the void. I never thought I'd actually see it. Care to elaborate? Amelia asked, one eyebrow raised. It's an ancient power source, Zara explained, her eyes never leaving the screen. Created by my ancestors millennia ago. The artifact we seek is hidden within. Marcus frowned. Hidden within that? How are we supposed to get to it? Zara turned to him, her expression a mix of determination and fear. We'll have to enter the anomaly itself. A chorus of protests erupted from the crew, but Amelia silenced them with a raised hand. Is it safe? She asked Zara directly. I don't know, Zara admitted. The records are unclear, but it's the only way to reach the artifact before the Dominion does. Amelia was quiet for a long moment, weighing their options. Finally, she nodded. All right, but we do this carefully. Mr. Wells, I want you to rig up every sensor we've got. I want to know exactly what we're flying into. For the next several hours, Marcus and his engineering team worked feverishly to modify the ship's sensors. Zara assisted, her knowledge of Voidwalker technology proving invaluable. As they worked, Marcus couldn't help but notice the way her hands moved with grace and precision, or how her brow furrowed in concentration. He shook his head, forcing himself to focus. There was no time for distractions, not with the fate of the galaxy potentially hanging in the balance. Finally, they were ready. The stellar horizon approached the swirling vortex, its hull creaking under the strain of the intense gravitational forces. All hands, brace for entry. Amelia's voice rang out over the comm. Marcus gripped his console tightly, exchanging a nervous glance with Zara. The ship shuddered as it crossed the threshold. For a moment, everything seemed to stretch and distort. Marcus felt a wave of nausea wash over him, and then silence. The stellar horizon emerged into a vast, glowing chamber. Surrounding them were impossibly tall spires of crystalline material, pulsing with inner light. At the center of it all floated a small, unassuming cube. The artifact, Zara breathed. But before they could celebrate, alarms blared throughout the ship. Zara's voice came over the comm, tight with panic. Captain, we've got company. Multiple Dominion ships emerging from the vortex behind us. Marcus' heart sank. They'd come so far, only to be cornered at the last moment. Amelia's voice cut through the chaos. Mr. Wells, I need options. How do we get that artifact and get out of here in one piece? Marcus' mind raced. The stellar horizon was no match for Dominion warships in a straight fight. They needed something unexpected, something. His eyes widened as an idea struck him. It was crazy, possibly suicidal, but it just might work. Captain, he said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. I've got a plan, but you're not going to like it. As Marcus outlined his audacious scheme, he could see the mix of disbelief and grudging admiration on Amelia's face. It would require split-second timing, a hell of a lot of luck, and pushing both the ship and its crew to their absolute limits. But as he looked around at the determined faces of his crewmates, at Zara's unwavering trust in him, Marcus felt a surge of confidence. They might be outgunned and outnumbered, but they had something the Dominion didn't, the indomitable human spirit. All right, people, Amelia said, a fierce grin spreading across her face. Let's show these Dominion bastards what a bunch of primitive humans can do. Mr. Wells, you have a go. Let's make history. As the crew sprang into action, Marcus took a deep breath. The next few minutes would determine not just their fate, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. It was time to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The stellar horizon shuddered as another blast from the Dominion warships grazed its hull. In the engine room, Marcus worked frantically, rerouting power and pushing the ship's systems far beyond their intended limits. How much longer? Amelia's voice crackled over the comm, tension evident in every syllable. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow, his fingers flying over the controls. Almost there, Captain. Just need to. Got it. He slammed his hand down on the final sequence, and the ship lurched violently. The plan was audacious, bordering on insane. They were going to use the energy from the heart of the void itself to create a temporary wormhole, one that would hopefully spit them out far from the Dominion's reach, with the artifact safely in tow. Zara, now, Marcus shouted. The Voidwalker closed her eyes, extending her hands towards the ship's power core. Her skin began to glow with an otherworldly light as she channeled the vast energies surrounding them. On the bridge, Amelia watched in awe as a swirling vortex of energy began to form in front of the ship. All hands, brace for transit, she ordered. The Stellar Horizon plunged into the makeshift wormhole just as the Dominion ships opened fire. For a moment, reality seemed to twist and bend around them. Marcus felt as if he was being turned inside out, his very atoms screaming in protest. And then, with a flash of blinding light, they were through. The ship emerged into normal space with a violent shudder. Alarms blared as multiple systems went into overload. "Damage report," Amelia barked. Sarah's voice came over the comm, breathless but triumphant. "We made it, Captain. I'm not sure where we are, but the Dominion ships are nowhere on our scanners, and we've got the artifact." A ragged cheer went up from the crew. They'd done it. Against all odds, they'd escaped with their prize. But the celebration was short-lived. In the engine room, Marcus stared at his console in growing horror. "Captain," he said, his voice grim, "we've got a problem. The wormhole transit fried our main power systems. We're running on auxiliary power, but it's fading fast. We've got maybe an hour before we lose life support." A heavy silence fell over the ship. They'd escaped one death trap, only to find themselves in another. "Options?" Amelia asked, her voice steady despite the dire situation. Marcus ran the calculations in his head, his heart sinking. "We don't have enough power to reach any known systems, and even if we did, our long-range comms are fried. We can't call for help." It seemed their miraculous escape was to be short-lived. But then Zara spoke up, her voice weak but determined. There might be a way." All eyes turned to the Voidwalker. She looked exhausted, drained by the immense effort of channeling the heart's energy. "The artifact," she continued, "it's not just a weapon against the Dominion. It's a power source unlike anything in the known universe. If we can figure out how to tap into it." Marcus' mind raced with the possibilities. It could give us the boost we need to reach a habitable system. But, he hesitated, we have no idea how it works. Interfacing alien tech with our systems could be catastrophic. Amelia's voice cut through the debate. "Do we have a choice? It's either try this or suffocate in the void." Marcus looked at Zara, saw the trust in her eyes. He nodded. "All right, let's do this." What followed was the most intense hour of Marcus' life. Working with Zara, he jerry-rigged a connection between the artifact and the ship's power systems. Every instinct screamed that this was impossible, that he was breaking a dozen fundamental laws of physics. But somehow, inch by inch, they made progress. With less than 5 minutes of auxiliary power remaining, Marcus made the final connection. He exchanged a look with Zara, both of them knowing that this could either save them or vaporize the ship instantly. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, and activated the system. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a surge that made the entire ship vibrate, power flooded back into the Stellar Horizon systems. Lights flickered to life, and the comforting hum of the engines resumed. "It's working." Zara's excited voice came over the comm. "Power levels are stabilizing. And Captain, I'm picking up a habitable system within range. We can make it." The relief on the bridge was palpable. They weren't out of danger yet, but they had a fighting chance. As the Stellar Horizon limped towards the distant promise of safety, Marcus slumped against a console, exhausted but exhilarated. Zara placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a now familiar tingle through him. "You did it, Marcus," she said softly. "You saved us all." He shook his head, a tired smile on his face. "We did it. Together." He looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something shift inside him. In that moment, he realized that somewhere along this crazy journey, he'd fallen for this remarkable alien woman. But before he could say anything more, the ship shuddered violently. Warning klaxons blared as Sarah's panicked voice came over the comm. "Captain, the artifact, it's destabilizing. We've got energy surges throughout the ship. If we don't do something fast, we're going tow." Her words were cut off by a deafening roar as reality itself seemed to tear around them. Marcus grabbed Zara, holding her tight as blinding light engulfed them. In that moment, as the very fabric of space-time walked around the stellar horizon, Marcus Wells, human engineer, reluctant hero, faced the unknown with determination burning in his eyes. Whatever came next, he knew one thing for certain: they would face it together. The blinding light faded, leaving spots dancing in Marcus' vision. He blinked rapidly, trying to make sense of his surroundings. The engine room was intact, but something felt off. "Zara," he called out, his voice hoarse. "Are you all right?" "I'm here," came her reply, and Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him. He turned to see her picking herself up off the floor, looking dazed but unharmed. Before they could say more, Captain Amelia's voice crackled over the comm system. "All hands report in. What the hell just happened?" Marcus stumbled to the nearest console, his eyes widening as he took in the readings. "Captain, you're not going to believe this, but we're not where we were, or when we were." "Explain, Mr. Wells," Amelia demanded. "The artifact," Zara interjected, her voice filled with awe. "It must have reacted with the ship's systems in ways we couldn't have predicted. It's transported us." "Transported us where?" Amelia asked, a note of trepidation in her voice. Marcus took a deep breath. "According to these readings, we're in a completely different galaxy, and based on the stellar configurations, we've traveled forward in time. By about 10,000 years. A stunned silence fell over the comm channel. The implications were staggering. Everything and everyone they'd known was long gone, lost to the millennia that had passed in an instant for them. "My God," Amelia breathed. "What do we do now?" Before anyone could answer, a new voice, deep, resonant, and decidedly non-human, filled the ship. "Welcome, travelers. We've been expecting you." The crew of the Stellar Horizon found themselves transported to a vast chamber, unlike anything they'd ever seen. Beings of pure energy floated around them, their forms shifting and swirling in mesmerizing patterns. One of the beings approached, its voice echoing in their minds. "We are the Ascended. Once, long ago, we were like you, bound by physical form, struggling against the limits of the universe. But we evolved, transcended those limitations." Marcus stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overriding his fear. You knew we were coming. How?" The being seemed to smile, though it had no discernible face. "Time is not the linear construct you perceive it to be. We exist in all moments simultaneously. We saw your arrival just as we saw the creation of the artifact that brought you here, an artifact created by our own hands, eons ago." Zara gasped. You're evolved Voidwalkers." "In a sense," the being replied. "We are what the Voidwalkers, and many other species, including humans, have the potential to become." Amelia, ever the pragmatist, cut to the chase. "Why bring us here? What do you want from us?" The Ascended being's form shimmered. "Want? Nothing. But we offer you a choice. You stand at a crossroads, not just for yourselves, but for all of humanity and indeed for all sentient life in your time." It gestured, and a series of images appeared before them, visions of possible futures. In one, they saw the Dominion's reign of terror spreading across the galaxy. In another, they witnessed humanity rising to meet the challenge, forming alliances with other species to create a harmonious galactic community. "The artifact you carry," the being continued, "contains knowledge that could shape the course of history. Used wisely, it could usher in an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Used recklessly, it could bring about unimaginable destruction." Marcus looked at his crewmates, saw the weight of this responsibility in their eyes. "So what you're saying is, the future isn't set. Our actions, when we return to our time, will determine the fate of the galaxy." The being nodded, or at least gave the impression of nodding. "Precisely. We cannot interfere directly. The choice must be yours. But know this, the potential for greatness lies within you. All of you." As the implications sank in, Marcus felt a strange calm settled over him. He turned to Zara, saw the same resolve in her eyes. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, human and Voidwalker, united in purpose. Amelia stepped forward, her voice steady. "We understand, and we're ready to bear this responsibility." The ascended being's form brightened. "Then it is time for you to return. Remember what you have seen here. The future is in your hands." With a flash of light, the stellar horizon and its crew found themselves back in their own time and galaxy, but they were forever changed by what they had experienced. As they set course for Earth, ready to share their knowledge and prepare humanity for the challenges ahead, Marcus stood on the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. Zara joined him, entwining her fingers with his. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. "To change the course of history?" Marcus smiled, squeezing her hand. "With you by my side, I'm ready for anything." As the stellar horizon cruised through the cosmos, its crew knew that their greatest adventure was just beginning. They carried with them not just the artifact, but a vision of what could be, a future where the best qualities of humanity and alien kind alike would shape a brighter destiny for all. The ship's engines hummed softly as they pushed onwards, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of countless civilizations. Marcus and Zara stood there for a long moment, the weight of their responsibility balanced by the strength they found in each other. As they turned to leave the observation deck, ready to join the rest of the crew in planning their next steps, Marcus paused. He looked at Zara, really looked at her, seeing not just the alien beauty that had first captivated him, but the depth of spirit and the unwavering courage that had brought them through their harrowing journey. "Zara," he said softly, "I know we come from different worlds, different species even, but this journey, everything we've been through, it's made me realize something." Zara tilted her head, her luminous eyes curious. "What is it, Marcus?" He took a deep breath. "I love you. Not in spite of our differences, but because of them. Because together, we represent something greater than either of us could be alone. Just like humanity and the Voidwalkers, and all the other species out there, were stronger together." For a moment, Zara was silent, and Marcus felt his heart racing. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face, radiant as a newborn star. "Oh, Marcus," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I love you too. And you're right. Our bond, it's a symbol of what's possible when we reach across the divides that separate us." As they embraced, the vastness of space seemed to shrink around them, the challenges ahead feeling less daunting. They knew that the road ahead would be difficult, filled with obstacles and dangers they could scarcely imagine, but they also knew that they wouldn't face it alone. Back on the bridge, Captain Amelia was already in deep discussion with the senior staff, planning their approach. As Marcus and Zara entered, hand in hand, Amelia looked up, a knowing smile touching her lips. "Ah, there you are," she said. "Good. We're going to need every one of us at our best for what's coming." Sarah, the science officer, was poring over data from the artifact. "It's incredible," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The knowledge contained in this, it could revolutionize every field of science we know. Faster than light travel, clean energy, even the secrets of life itself. And with it, added Security Chief Rodriguez, the power to defend ourselves, and others, against threats like the Dominion." Amelia nodded gravely. "But we have to be careful. The Ascended were right. This knowledge, in the wrong hands, could be catastrophic. We need to think carefully about how we introduce it to Earth and to the wider galactic community." Marcus stepped forward. "Captain, if I may, I think we need to do more than just bring this knowledge back. We need to bring back the vision we saw of different species working together, pooling their strengths, overcoming their differences." Zara squeezed his hand, then addressed the group. "My people, the Voidwalkers, even those under the Dominion's sway, they're not evil. They're afraid of losing their place in the universe, of being rendered obsolete. If we can show them a better way." Amelia considered this for a moment, then nodded. You're right, both of you. This isn't just about technology or power. It's about forging a new path forward for all sentient life. As the discussion continued, plans taking shape for their return to Earth and the monumental task that lay ahead, Marcus felt a surge of pride in his crewmates. They had started this journey as simple freight haulers, and now here they were, preparing to reshape the very future of the galaxy. The Stellar Horizon continued its journey home, no longer just a battered old freighter, but a vessel of hope, carrying within it the seeds of a new era. Its crew, human, voidwalker, and who knew what other species might join them in the future, stood united, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they approached the outer reaches of Earth's solar system, Marcus stood once more at the viewport, Zara by his side. The blue marble of humanity's homeworld grew larger, beautiful and fragile in the vastness of space. You know, Marcus said softly, when I signed up for this job, I never imagined I'd end up here. Helping to change the course of history, falling in love with an alien, he chuckled. Life's funny that way, isn't it? Zara smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. Indeed it is. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The unknown, the unexpected. That's where true growth happens. That's where we find out who we really are. As Earth loomed larger in the viewport, Marcus felt a mix of anticipation and nervousness. They were about to step into the unknown once again, this time armed not with weapons or technology, but with knowledge, vision, and hope. Whatever the future held, whatever challenges they would face in the days, years, and decades to come, Marcus knew one thing for certain. Together, united in purpose and in spirit, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. The Stellar Horizon began its final approach to Earth, carrying with it the promise of a new dawn for all of humanity and beyond. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.